Donny here. How's it going today? Beautiful morning here in Nanaimo, BC. Sun's shining. Did a little picture of the sun coming up over in Newcastle Island this morning, shining on Departure Bay. It's just beautiful. So the last couple days, I've had a couple guys call me on their 461s with the rev limiter ignition and the way the carburetor is set. They're thinking their saws are running really rich. They got bark boxes on them and max flow air filters. And what happens is when you put the bark box on it, gives you more power, more noisy, revs a little more, as much as the ignition will allow it. 13.6 to 13.7 is how the rev limiter cuts in on the 461. So on the saw, the carburetor has limiter caps on the carburetor on your low and high speed jet. The basic settings on the low and high speed jet on the 461 carb is 1 1/4 on the low and 1 1/2 on the high. They pretty much always run perfect at that setting, stock or modified. I pull the limiter caps out and check every new one and any one that if I'm rebuilding one or tuning one up for a guy. So on the red limiter caps, you see there's a little notch on the side of each one. There's a little on the red limiter cap. It's got a little piece of plastic in there, so it only turns so far, eh? So you need to line that up with that little slot there. Take this fancy tool from Stihl. It's a left-hand thread on it. You put it into the cap, turn it counterclockwise, a few threads, pull it out. That's the low speed. Do the same with the high speed. Push hard, little hard on it, 3-4 turns, pull it out. There'll be a little bump on there that makes it not turn so far. I've already done this one, sorry. I didn't know this one was done, but grind that off so this thing's nice and round and smooth. Then do your general settings. So the low speed, put your tuning screwdriver in there. Crank it in till it just touches. Don't go too hard, direct the seat. 1/2, 1, 1 1/4. High speed, turn it in till it seats, again, like the low. 1/2, 1, 1 1/2. Grind a little bump off the high speed one like the low speed, then put them back on. The reason I put them back on, years ago on some carburetors, I had them where the vibration of the saw would actually make them go out of tune a bit. So I just always put them back on. Just one of them things you learn, eh? Or, something happens, so you just stick with it. Now, this carburetor with that ignition system, this saw will rev about 13.6, 13.7 with the bark box. Your best torque and the power of the saw is 9,500 to 10,000 in that range, depending on your chain. But that's where the torque of the motor is. Revving it anymore with the non-digital rev limiter ignition will blow bearings out of the motor, and you'll seize it up. Not all will, as long as you know how to adjust the carb. So if you have a non-rev limiter ignition on it, you're gonna have to crank the high speed out because it's gonna rev over 15 grand with it set like this. You got to adjust the high speed and the low speed a little bit to get it down to about 14, let's say, and that's plenty enough still. Some guys even like to run a little higher, but if you're running good bar and chain, good mix and good fuel, and you're not cutting air, like you're not walking down the log going like hitting the branches as this thing's revving full blast, you will have problems. So hit the throttle when you hit the wood. Don't be cutting there. I still don't advise running those ignitions. So I've seen bearings blow like crazy on them in Conrod bearings. So so the guys that are running them with the digital ignition, the stock ignition, and the bark box or anything in the standard setting on the carburetor, when you're not in the wood, yes, sure, it misfires, and that's the rev limiter ignition. That's what it's made to do. So people think it's running rich, but it really isn't. If you turn the high-speed jet in more than what the factory setting is that I just told you, 1.5. All you will do, it won't rev more, but it'll run leaner, and you will score the piston or the con rod bearing in the bottom. Side bearings are normally just from manufacturer bad bearings or a lot of sawdust ingestion, you know, whatnot. So I don't advise that. Just run it the way it is, and you'll be fine. A lot of saws now, Husqvarna, Echo, Stihl, probably Makita, Dalmar, all the rest of them, all have rev limiter ignitions now, and it's a good thing. You know, you can change them, go ahead, but just make sure you're adjusting the carburetor properly to the right RPM. So anyways, hopefully that helps you guys on that. If you don't have the fancy tool from Stihl, I don't have the part number, sorry, but go to your Stihl dealer, you can order them out of their tool section. You can take a basic old wood screw, deck screw, okay? Thread it into there, pop it out like that. I just like using the tool because it doesn't wreck the inner hole of the limiter too much, so I can still use a flat blade on it and turn it to adjust it, okay? So yeah, that's what all about. Got to get back to the show. Oh, one other thing I want to show you. This Echo 7310s, the piston and ring. Most rings, you know, you got to have them on right upside down or other way around to get it lined up with the ring locator pin, eh? Echo ones don't have that, but I did discover that they actually have a T on top of the ring. What does T stand for? Top. So just make sure if you're putting rings on a 7310 Echo, it might not. It probably still works the other way, but I just like to do things right. T to the top, arrow to the exhaust when you're installing the piston. 7310s, I'm going to get one out here soon, the next couple weeks. I'm doing a couple up, and we're going to go out. I've already done a few up, but I'm going to do one up for our big wood here, and we're going to go out and test one against Husqvarna 572 and the Stihl 462. And I'll do a video when I'm out in the bush with the fella. Not going to name his name yet. You'll see. He's a great faller, has a good falling company, and been a good friend of mine for years. So yeah, that's about it today. I got to get grinding and get back to the shop and put these fine motors together for you folks. And yeah, check the walkersawshop.com online store. We got some more of those pro sizers in, the laser for cutting your firewood. I think they're awesome. Everyone should have them cutting firewood. And lots of other goodies there. Keep sawing the wood, stick in the ice, rub on the road. Have a great day, great week. Bye.